AskReddit. You wake up 2 hours late for work. Would you still go? Why not? Yep. I'm usually punctual and my boss is not a huge pain in the ass. Also, if I don't go, the clients are more of a pain than my boss and the next day I'd have to overwork myself to catch up on work. Not to mention colleagues that have to make up for your absence where applicable. Not applicable to my case, because I have a specialized role in my law firm. If there's any work I leave behind, only I can, and have to do it. Yeah, so it's shooting yourself in the foot to take time off without planning it. I'm in the same boat. Specialized role. Even holidays can be a problem if I don't do it right. I had this same problem. So I found a less stressful job. Huge pay cut, but I really haven't noticed thanks to the mental relief. This is my next move. Honestly, the money is not worth it at this point. I've only been out of college for 6 years, but it's already abundantly clear how important mental health is and what it means when it comes to being overworked. In the USA it's not always easy to maintain that. Be happy, friend. I hope it works out for you. Op seems to be late and wants some advice. Is advice a word? Genuine question BTW. Sounds both right and wrong in a comical way. Advice is plural on its own. From Google. Can you say advices? In the sense of recommendation or counsel, it is an uncountable noun and has no plural form. To pluralize it, say something like words of advice or pieces of advice. It is normally used in the plural form, as in the latest advices from Europe. Okay Google. Someone with a disability feature got his Google Assistant turned on. Better to show up late than never, just like periods. r/technical literature. Better late than lever. r/I get that reference. I'd still go in. My job is home based and salaried though. As long as I work an hour I get credit for a full day. Back when I was bartending, same answer. Being late in the service industry is putting your work onto someone else. Get there so whoever is covering for you can go home or so everyone's workload becomes more manageable. How do I get a home-based job where I can work an hour? Sheesh, I'll quit my job and work for you right now. Many salaried positions are work an hour, counts for the day, because you aren't paid to work hours, you're paid to get a job done. If you get the job done quicker, you have more time. If it takes you longer, you work longer. If you only work an hour every day, the job doesn't get done, your ass gets canned. Where I work is salaried. If you get the job done faster they will ask you to help out a bit on something else. If you agree help out, they then assume you always have time for this new task and it's now your responsibility forever. This shit right here. The only reward for hard work is more work. Bingo. This is my experience as well. It creates a pretty poor work environment when your employees are not motivated to get work done more efficiently because they know they will just be given extra work to do instead. Wait, are there workplaces that don't do exactly that? That's why you never turn in work early. If you say you'll have a report done Friday, turn it in Friday, not Wednesday when you finished. Make sure you do Friday morning/noon if it's promised end of day. That way you can still get brownie points for done early, but without extra work being thrown your way. Also as you're turning in, give yourself another task and deadline, so no one else can do it. Hey boss, here is report I promised to be delivered later today. Right now I'm starting to work on, and it should be done next Tuesday. Usually those sorts of jobs are outcome based. You have to deliver things regardless of how much or how little you work. So putting in an hour one day might mean you put in 12 hours 4 other days. But you get paid the same for each day. True. I have a job like this and have to deliver projects. It is irrelevant if I work 1 hour weeks or 100 hour weeks. It just needs to be done properly at the end. I definitely prefer this flexibility and self-determination over the more stable time clock type work, but it does carry a different kind of stress. Well, generally the people who want to only work an hour aren't the ones getting hired for this sort of thing. Get some nice specialized skills that make you indispensable and don't necessitate dealing with people face to face very often. I'm a research statistician. A lot of people in my role choose to work from home. I'm not one of them, because I like to keep strict boundaries between home and work. I would get too easily distracted by all the fun games and stuff I have at home. My job is basically a black box. People know what they give me to get started, and they know what I give them back. But basically everyone I work with is very thankful they don't have to think about what goes on in between those exchanges. This means some things people think would take weeks take me hours, and some things people think would take me hours take me weeks. Be clear about timelines, set expectations, and deliver what you promise, and nobody will be looking over your shoulder if you're in a fairly specialized/technical position. This obviously varies company to company, but if you have in-demand skills, you can afford to be picky about where you work. It's probably more like you need to work at least 1 hour to make it a workday, which means that doing some quick stuff, for instance answer phone calls from coworkers/do quick drafts and mail it in, won't be compensated. You therefore have an official reason to refuse to do such small stuff on off work days, and the company reduces the bookkeeping overhead. I really appreciate your attitude towards your colleagues. I wish everyone had this mentality. I remember waiting around after a 12-hour shift, shattered and dead on my feet waiting to be stood down by the day shift staff. Sucked? Yeah. It's still your job, and if you work 8-hour days, you'll still have 6 to go. Maybe you can stay late to make up the time. Regardless, oversleeping is a common screw up. It doesn't mean that you just take the whole day off. You just go in late. You can take a sick day if you still have them. You can't call in sick 2 hours after your shift is meant to start though. At least in my job, you have to call at least an hour before. 24-hour industry. I would call up, apologize and offer to work late. Mistakes happen, and as long as it's not a regular thing, I think my company would be okay with that. Depends on what's accepted in your country as well. Work ethics differ. Yeah, I think this is a cultural thing. I'm in the UK. I know many people who this has happened to, and it's all cool, mostly, as long as it's not a habit. Dang, my last place of work needs to know this. I have a health condition that stops me from going to work if it flares up. It flares up every couple of months and can be really sudden. I've called about 4 hours before my shift explaining what has happened, and every time I was yelled at and degraded the next time I was in. It's not totally out of the realm to call 2 hours late. You just need to have an amazing reason, like sorry, I was in a car crash and was being checked for concussion and internal bleeding. I have a cold, probably won't cut it. Of course, the time I actually was in a road accident and missed a job center appointment because I was strapped to a board in R&D. They really tried to fight me on it being a reason to miss the appointment. Even when I went in the day I was released from hospital, bandaged ankle to hip, face and arms cut up, with the time-stamped discharge paperwork from the hospital. Even funnier, it happened within line of sight of the job center. One of them actually said, "Oh, that was you." Then later I got notified by the back office people that they weren't going to accept being unconscious in hospital as a reason for missing it. I have a cold would definitely cut it in my sector. As long as it's not a regular thing and you keep up with work, it's not an issue in places with a decent union. In my experience. Yeah, these other places seem crazy strict. I guess it depends on how client facing your work is, but for me, I just say yeah, I woke up late with a cold, calling in sick today, and it's no prob. Just don't do it regularly. To be clear, I'm not saying you can't call in with a cold. I'm saying you can't have a 9 AM start and call in at 11 because of a cold. Even not client facing, it causes headaches for colleagues. If they don't know, one guy I used to work with would frequently come in anything between 30 and 180 minutes late. Was a real headache because it was, well, he's supposed to do this and it's important. So I drop my work and do that, or do I wait for him to stroll in at 11:15? That's messed up. Having worked at a job center, specifically as a claim administrator back in the day, I would have given you a pass given the evidence. However, there is an argument to be made that, by being in a serious accident, you were no longer fit to work and should have moved to incapacity. You did more than most of the feckless late or off date signers I'd ever dealt with, so fair play to you. If you get sick or have an emergency, then yes, you have to. Sure, this is oversleeping, but they don't know that. Just that you have been out of reach, which works well with severe sickness or emergency. 3 hours before our shift here, but if I wasn't at work by 705 I would start getting calls. Had one person not show up one day and they did a wellness check on them. As the op stated, 2 hours late for your shift. I'm going to assume that you, the person who is waking up late, woke up 2 hours into their shift. So, after you factor the hour of bathroom, shower, eat, get dressed, etc etc. Then the hour commute, including the standard hitting every red light, being stuck in the only traffic in the city. When you finally make it in, it's halfway through your shift, and field depending, everyone already adapted to you not being there. It's kinda moot. Man, when I've realized I'm late I can get up, shower, and shove some food in my bag in 15 minutes flat. Shouldn't take you an hour to get ready when you're running late. If you work 8-hour days, you'll still have 6 to go. The thread says wake up 2 hours late for work. I understand that as 2 hours of the workday has already passed when I wake up. So if we assume that I should still get some breakfast, shower, and drive 45 minutes to work, I'd have way less than 6 hours at work. I'd just work from home, though I realize not everyone has this option. Late equals doghouse. No call no show equals fired guy. Doghouse. It's a structure with 4 walls and a roof that dogs live in, but that's not important right now. I just want to tell you both good luck. We are all counting on you. Colloquialism in American English. To be in the doghouse is to be in a fair amount of trouble for your actions. As if your family has a dog that is typically indoors, but did something bad, so its punishment is to sleep out in the doghouse. I thought the expression was more of the 50s trope of wife is so mad, the husband has to sleep outside, in the doghouse. Now that expression isn't supposed to be taken literally. Same meaning though, a husband in the doghouse has fucked up and so is metaphorically sharing a bed with the dog, because his wife is pissed at him, but not literally. It's an old saying, originally when your indoor dog was misbehaving you'd send them to the outdoor kennel, or doghouse. Then it got applied to people in joking, you've done something bad, so you're kicked out of the house, and have to sleep in the dog's kennel. It's not likely something that actually happened very much in reality, though I'm sure some people did it after hearing the saying. For my job, I'd get an official warning if I was 2 hours late. If I didn't show up at all I'd likely get fired. Yes, I have flexible work hours, and as long as I fulfill my work duty within the month, I'm okay. I want a job like that. I hate going in 9 to 5, just to sit there doing nothing, because I have to work a certain number of hours regardless if there's any work left to do. Not the orc. But I'm hourly, I still need to get 40 if I want my full pay. My boss just gives 0 shits if those hours are worked 9 to 5, 6 to 2, or 12 to 8. Trust me, hourly works out in the worker's favor more often than salary. Most places see salary as an excuse to just pile on additional work without increasing staffing. Yeah, 9 to 5 is my death. I'm still in school, so I only work weekends, but yes, they may be angry, but offer to make up the time by maybe working an extra day. It wouldn't make the situation better, but they'd probably appreciate it. As someone who employs people, I can definitively say that I'd much rather you come in late than offer to make it up at a later date. Seriously, think about it. I'm now short a person for that day. My options are to scramble and try to get another employee to cover your shift or me, and the employees need to work extra hard to cover for being a person short. How are your actions fair to your boss and co-workers? People oversleep. It happens. The responsible thing to do is to call as soon as you wake up, explain the situation and rush in. Edit. Somehow misinterpreted his response. My bad. But for people who wouldn't go in, this is my response. You've reached the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed it. For more content please subscribe.